Greece has expelled Libya's ambassador in the latest escalation of a maritime dispute involving several Mediterranean countries. There is a territorial agreement between Turkey and Libya. It essentially draws a line in the eastern Mediterranean Sea, cutting across a strip which is also claimed by Greece. Libya's foreign ministry says the expulsion of its ambassador from Athens is unacceptable. John Saropoulos has more now from Athens.
The reason for Greek displeasure at Libya is that the Libyan government had given the Greek government assurances that it was not concluding such an agreement with Turkey. It was no
part of efforts to win support in the region for this dispute. It all centres really on the island of Cyprus. That has been divided since 1974. You've got the Turkish-speaking north, you've got the Greek Cypriot south. Turkey has been drilling for oil and gas off the coast of Cyprus, which has resulted in sanctions from the European Union. The EU says Turkey is infringing on Cypriot sovereignty. But Ankara doesn't even recognise Cyprus as a state. Meanwhile, Greece is pushing to lead a regional gas market, cooperating with both Egypt and Cyprus. With us on Skype now from Oxford in the UK is Kronis Kapelidis, a maritime security analyst with Hudson Analytics, which is a US-based maritime risk management company. Thank you for your time, sir. I'm wondering how much of this is open to interpretation, because each side is claiming their own part of the area. You've got one country which says it doesn't recognise another one. Is there a clear breaking of maritime law here, in your opinion?
Well, if we stick to the letter of the law, I would have to say yes. The UN Convention for the Law of the Sea says that any country that wants to declare or put limits in its EEZ, in its exclusive economic zone, wherever there are disputes, then the counterparties should sit down on the same table and decide what is the best solution to move forward. So any unilateral movements from any of the states in the region is only going to cause further tensions.
And how much is at stake here? Obviously, when you're talking about drilling for oil and gas, it changes the dynamics quite a lot.
Well, what we have seen is that it expands beyond just the states in the region. There are several other interests. For example, France has been trying to push government or private companies to invest in the region, mainly in Cyprus. We know that the US is doing the same with ExxonMobil and Total. So all of these countries, there are other elements and other parties coming into play, some of the biggest players in the region. So it's always very tempting to try and move forward without having any consensus. And that could cause, as I said before, main tensions. And if we have navies involved from all sides, then it's even going to get worse.
So how optimistic are you then that any of this can actually be resolved? You talked about people gathering around the table, but you've also talked about warships out there as well.
Well, the Greek government has been trying for years now to go to the International Court in The Hague with Turkey in order to solve the solution. Both sides have not managed to come up to an agreement so far. But talking about the political element, I have to say I'm not very optimistic. Being a former Navy officer myself, having been in the region several times and having confronted warships in the region, I have to say that this is a scenario, the worst case scenario, that we should try in any case to avoid and focus on diplomatic means to solve this problem.
Kronis Kapelidis joining us from Oxford. Thank you for your time, sir.